Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon from a new trail. I've just started the Snowdonia Slate Trail. I have a 0 hours contract with the work that I do, and I'm not required this week, so I've got a few days. I've seen the weather forecast is pretty good, so I've just made a decision to come up to Snowdonia, and I'm going to follow this 83-mile walk over the next 6 days. Just left the port of Port Penrhyn, which is the port that took a huge amount of slate out of North Wales and around the world. It was built in 1790 by Lord Penrhyn, as until it was built, the slate used to go from the nearby River Ogwen. But because of the depth of that river, they couldn't load the ships up in there where they wanted to, so Port Penrhyn was built in order to facilitate bigger tonnage. Anyway, 6 days walk around beautiful Snowdonia. I hope you enjoy the journey as I follow this route. So how did I hear about the Snowdonia Slate Trail? Well, two of my friends Simon and Tony from the walking group that I go out with occasionally, they did this a few years ago and wrote a lovely article for our club magazine, and it fired my imagination because I've overlapped with the Snowdonia Slate Trail on a number of occasions in the past when I've been up here ticking off the hills, and I've always been fascinated by the slate industry. It was just an enormous industry. And when you look at the amount of spoil that's left behind, and then you know how much was used, not just in the UK but around the world, it just makes you realise how big the holes underground are and how much work was done. So, fascinating trail, and one that I'm really going to enjoy with regards to the history. I'm now entering the moorland above Penrhyn quarry. The route is a circle with a tail, and I completed the tail when I walked from Port Penrhyn to Bethesda, and then over the next 6 days I will complete the circle and finish back in Bethesda. Behind me there are the spoil heaps which are hiding the quarry from where they came right behind. That's Penrhyn quarry behind there. It's the largest quarry in Great Britain. Incredibly, it's nearly 400 metres deep. I'm mixing up my measurements here. It's about a mile long. Now it employs about 200 people, but in its heyday it employed tens of thousands of people. And it's also the site of the longest industrial dispute which shaped working conditions in the UK. 3 years the dispute took place, in the late 19th into the early 20th century, where the workers demanded better working conditions and better pay. Well, I'm all pitched up and I'm quite happy with where I am. I had my dinner by the stream on this moor above Penrhyn quarry, and looking at the ground on the moor, it's pretty rough, and I spotted this pumping station on the map, so I made for that, and I found, really luckily, some really short crop grass at the pumping station. So I'm pleased about that, because tomorrow morning the forecast is deteriorated, so it's going to be heavy rain from the morning through until early afternoon, then brightening up. So I didn't really want to be in a situation where I'm pitching this tent, it's only the second time I've used it, on rough ground where it might then get saturated underneath, so I'm pretty sure I'll be okay here. I enjoyed today, only half a day. My train didn't get into Bangor until 25 to 2, by the time I'd walked down to Port Penbryn, which is about 1.5 miles from the train station, I didn't start the walk until about 2:30. Done 11.2 miles in total from the train station, so I'm really happy with that. Quite enjoyed the tail of this route to Bethesda, and after Bethesda the views have really opened up, and I'm looking at the Glidderau, and I can see where I'm looking at my tent now towards the Carneddau. So really happy with where I am with this pitch. The mosquitoes are just starting to come out, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Wasn't really expecting that. Just have to manage that because I didn't bring my head net with me, stupidly. But there we are. Hydrate now and read a book, listen to the radio, get ready for tomorrow. Well, good morning. It's day 2. A bit of a race this morning, hence I've not done much filming. In fact, done no filming, because it started off as a really bright sunny day, and then that's where it's coming from. So the black clouds are building. It's not raining yet, although you get the odd spit in the air. So yeah, packed up a nice dry tent, ready for whatever comes my way today. Forecast is heavy rain for the majority of the day, so we'll see. So heading off this moorland now, heading down towards Llanberis, and then I'm going to pick up a path which overlaps the Pilgrim's Way as I make my way towards Nantlle. I'm approaching Llanberis, and I've just passed the National Museum of Slate. I'd like to have gone in, but it's all shut up whilst renovation takes place. But it's situated near the train shed for the Llanberis Lake Railway, and above it is one of the huge quarries in this area, complete with trams on inclines and information boards about how they were used. So fascinating place. Now I'm going to head into Llanberis. It's still not raining really, spitting in the air, but nothing major. So hope it stays like this. Annoyingly, it's that type of rain. It's not very heavy, but it's too heavy not to wear a coat. So coat on, not bothering with the leggings. Still got views though, so I'm happy with that. And I just had a lovely coffee in Llanberis. So up over this ridge now and down towards Llanfair, and then on towards Nantlle. Coat didn't last long. Well, the rain has well and truly arrived. Threatening to do it all day, and then around 2 o'clock it really arrived, and it's absolutely throwing it down with a strong wind. It's now 4 o'clock. I've managed to avoid some of it by sheltering under a tree for a while, but it was clear it wasn't going to ease up. So I've made my way through Nantlle, and I'm in a barn. Got my dinner here now, so I'll have that. I understand the rain's going to pass through by about 6 o'clock, so I'm going to sit here tight until it stops raining before I make my way towards my proposed camp spot this evening. Well, I've slept in some places. It's 7:30. It's still lashing down out there. Wind's getting up. No one's around. I've put my tent up on the earth floor in this barn, and I shall be out of here toot sweet in the morning. Good morning. Good morning from day 3. Well, there we are. First for everything, sleeping in a barn. But I was really pleased I did, because that weather didn't abate. It rained until about midnight, and the wind, well, it keeps coming through like an express train. So I'm looking at the clouds now scudding through the sky. I made the right decision staying there, because my proposed camp spot would have been on open access land, quite high up, and not knowing the ground, I could have really struggled to find somewhere in the rain and the wind last night. So I made the right decision, so I'm pleased with that. Now it's a case of making up for the lost mileage from yesterday and heading on. But I will be rethinking my proposed camp spot tonight, because it's due to be quite high again near the Rosearth quarry. But if this wind stays like this, I will be thinking about somewhere lower down. Well, there won't be a lot of filming if it stays like this. It's really grim, driving rain, and the winds have got to be gusting 40 miles an hour plus. I don't know what the forecast is either, so I can't really make a decision on what to do at the moment. I've got no signal. So just keep plodding on, adapt and overcome. Oh, I've got my fingers crossed that the weather is improving. Hasn't rained now for about an hour and a half. It does seem a bit brighter. Anyway, really easy stretch of walking at the moment between Ruddy and Bethgelert, and Bethgelert is the next place that I'm aiming for, where I'm definitely going to get a cup of coffee. I'm now at Croesaw Quarry, opposite Cnicht, and this quarry was a really large underground slate quarry. Started its life in 1840, but work was suspended in 1880, and then in 1895 it reopened under the stewardship of Moses Kellow. He industrialised the slate quarrying here with machinery to the point where a 2.5 metre hole could be drilled in the slate in under 2 minutes, where previously it had taken men all day to do that. And ahead of us now is the Rosearth quarry. This quarry had mixed fortunes. The slate was originally taken out by the Festiniog Railway, but there were access issues with the Carmarthen quarry, through whose land it had to go. In 1864 a solution was found when it was taken out through Croesaw. It was owned by the Coleman family, they of mustard fame, but it ceased working in 1948, and the barracks here had the reputation of being the draftiest, dirtiest and most unhygienic. I'm at Rosearth Quarry and I'm all set up, as you can see, a little earlier than I would normally do so, but this was always my planned destination. And when I arrived, the heavens opened and I quickly put the tent up in the rain. The forecast is for heavy rain this evening, starting around about now and pushing through until 7 o'clock in the morning, so I did wonder whether it would come slightly earlier. but quite happy to be here. It's a lovely location. Been here a few times in the past, the last time last year when I did the Cambrian Way. Today was a walk of two halves, really driving, strong winds and rain this morning, but it did settle down, and by the time I got to Bethgelert it was a lovely afternoon and I've enjoyed myself very much indeed. Tomorrow I head on towards Blaen y Ffestiniog, and I've got 3 more days to do to complete this trail. Well, good morning, and good morning from day 4 of the Snowdonia Slate Trail here at Roseth Quarry, and I've woken up this morning to the delicate sound of thunder. It's rained pretty much through the night, although there were gaps in that rain, and my tent has already dried on the outside, so I'm hoping that no more rain is going to come despite the sound of the thunder. Breakfast now, and then head on down towards Blaen y Ffestiniog. That was a pleasant interlude in Blaen y Ffestiniog. I've got to say though, on arrival, it did feel very depressing. It was very cloudy, everything's grey, but the people in the Bridge Cafe were lovely. And I had a bridge breakfast, 2 of everything, and that will set me up for the rest of the day nicely. Now, weather-wise, I don't know what's going on. It's supposed to be nice today, but it's definitely overcast. We've had a bit of rain. I'm hoping, from what I've seen, that it gets better this afternoon, and then again tomorrow we might see the sun again. Well, it's raining, and that's great for rainforests, which is what I'm in now, and waterfalls. Take a look at this. This is Cwm Rheda, and the river below is the Cynfal, and earlier I thought I'd seen the best waterfalls until I came here. Absolutely incredible. That's my route there. That road takes you up towards Manod Quarries. It's about a 150 metre climb up there. And after that, I'll be looking for anywhere to put my tent down. This is an old winding wheel at the top of an incline that goes steeply down to Rhywbach Quarry down there. You can see all the old buildings there, and that's where I'm heading this evening to try and find a pitch for my tent. I'm tired. That's been a long day today, nearly 19 miles. A lot of that was done in full waterproofs because it started raining quite hard late morning until mid-afternoon. But what a treat that route's been today. The Afon Cynfal, I'd never been there. I don't think I would have been there. Because when I come to Snowdonia, I come to tick the hills off, and I've done most of them. So to see the waterfalls in that nature reserve were just fantastic. And then to crest out and see the huge waterfalls before I went up onto the mountains themselves, that was special, really special. So having my dinner now, couscous with one of those Blue Dragons sweet chilli and garlic sauces. It's quite nice actually. And then I'm camped here in Rhywbach Quarry, and a lovely family's just popped up. And we got talking and they said, "Are you a YouTuber?" They didn't recognise me. And I said, yes. And then we got talking about different channels. Anyway, Hunt on the Trails, they love your videos. So I thought I'd give you that feedback. But I'm going to have an early night tonight. I'm quite tired. A lot of climbing today. And then tomorrow I'm going to head on towards Betws and look to put my tent down somewhere between there and Llyn. Well, good morning, and good morning in the middle of June to the sound of a cuckoo. I thought they'd have gone by now, but this one obviously hasn't got lucky, so is hanging around looking for a mate. I've woken up in Rhywbach Quarry, where I put my tent down last night, and this is a fascinating place. It's had a really thriving community to the point where there's evidence of the barracks and cottages here, and there was a school here as well to educate the children. And their teacher was a lady called Mrs. Kate Hughes, and she used to travel up every day on an empty dram from Blaen y Ffestiniog. Then at the end of the day, oh, there's the cuckoo. At the end of the day, she would go back on what's called a wildcat, and I think it's akin to a skateboard put on the rails of the track, and she would fly back down to Blaen y Ffestiniog. So Mrs. Kate Hughes sounds like a really fun lady. These barracks were worked, of this quarry I should say, was worked until about 1913, and then with the onset of the First World War, the quarry stopped. Today is day 5, and I'm going to head on towards Betws and then beyond towards the Ogwen Valley. I'm not keen on this road. It's a B road with winding bends and fast traffic. Suboptimal. I'm now in the wooded Conwy Valley, just gone past the Conwy Falls, and this morning's walk has been a lot of forestry. Not the most inspiring, but pleasant enough. Heard a peregrine falcon, confirmed on my Merlin app, and a missel thrush. So now I'm about 3 miles from Betws and I just looked at the forecast. I can't get my head around it. I've got more rain coming. I thought I was going to finish this off with 2 lovely days. Nope, I've got an afternoon of light rain, 70% chance. So I'm plumping for the 30% chance. Come on, 30% win. Well, after the solitude of the hills and the old quarries, arriving in Betws was predictably noisy. Lots of people sightseeing, strolling, admiring the sights. But I'm glad I'm through and on my way towards Capel Curig, and I'm not now far from the Swallow Falls. And at the moment, my 30% team is winning. Hasn't started raining yet. Oh, this is a cheeky little pull up from the ugly house. Whew. It's the end of day 5. I'm sat here in my tent with a lovely view across the valley, and it's just me, the sheep and the stone chats at this location. 30% won today. I put my coat on I put my waterproof cover on my rucksack. I thought I saw some rain coming towards me, but I swerved it, and at the last minute I stayed dry, so really pleased with that. Today the walk was not as good as previous days on the Snowdonia Slate Trail. No, it wasn't bad, but I had a lot more forestry, bit of road walking, better sequoia'd. It's a nice place, let's be perfectly honest about it. That's why it's popular. But when you've been in the hills and had the peace and quiet that I've had, it's a bit of a shock to the senses when you get there. After better sequoia'd, riverside walking, more forestry, and the highlight was the Swallow Falls. I've got 11.5 miles left on this trail to get back to Bethesda. So tomorrow morning, that's what I'm going to do. And when I get to Bethesda, it's a bus to Bangor and a train home. Good morning. Day 6 and the final day of my Snowdonia Slate Trail adventure. Really comfortable night last night. Had a lovely evening looking at the views, and then went to bed and woken up to the sound of an owl. But it wasn't a sound I recognised. It wasn't a tawny, it wasn't a barn. So I turned my phone on, put my Merlin app on. It was a long-eared owl, so quite a treat. This morning it's starting off overcast and cloudy. The sun has been out. The forecast is for full sun this afternoon. I've got about 11.5 miles to go. I'm going to plod my way slowly towards Bethesda. Well, I'm taking my final break on my Snowdonia Slate Trail adventure. My tent is drying behind me, the sun is well and truly out. The clouds are passing over the mountains, giving a lovely ethereal feel. I've got a peanut butter and banana chip wrap. This is my view, and I'm not far now from the end of Llynogwyn, where I hit a lane which I then follow down towards Bethesda. As I walk the last few miles now back into Bethesda, just reflecting on my Snowdonia Slate Trail adventure, and I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's exactly what I wanted. It's a route that is quite wild, quite remote, but it's taken me to parts of Snowdonia that I wouldn't ordinarily have visited. Being a peak bagger, I haven't walked some of the paths that I've been on this last 6 days, and I've enjoyed myself a lot. It's perfect for wild camping, but if you don't want to wild camp, there are lots of accommodation options liberally spaced along the way. And to cap it off, there are lots of cafes, so you can give yourself a treat every now and then as well. The people who organise the Snowdonia Slate Trail have got a wonderful website with all the information you need to set out on your own adventure. My favourite part has been visiting the old slate quarries high up on the mountains and reflecting on the fact that I'm so grateful I was born in the 1960s and not the 1820s, because the work was really hard. Hard manual labour in difficult conditions, in all weathers. Yeah, I tip my hat to those guys. They did an amazing job. But for now, I just want to thank you for watching my video. If you've got this far, it's quite a long one. And all I've got to think about now is, what do I have to eat when I get to Bethesda? Is it going to be fish and chips? Lamb tikka karai? Ooh, what about sweet and sour chicken? Roast beef?